Hello everyone, welcome to the Ranting Shop with me, Melissa, and today we're gonna be talking about Ready to Love Season 6, Episode 9. Now, in this episode, the contestants are gonna all be in one location and we're gonna get to see how they interact with each other. Who has beef? We get to see the beef, we get to see the tension, we really get to see what we don't get to see on the typical regular episodes. We start off with, as they're coming into the one location, we get to see what they talk about on their way to that location. And they strategically put people with other contestants. So first off, we have Miss Jamala and Miss Kadian. Jamala, of course, is being super possessive and demanding of Randall, and I feel like it's a bit premature, and she's gonna end up getting herself hurt because the mistake that a lot of women make is they overplay their position in a man's life, especially early on in the dating phases. And what ends up happening is the woman has this all figured out in her brain, but that's not necessarily how the man feels. And when she really gets to see his actions and she comes to the realization that it does not align with what she had in her brain, that's where all the drama is gonna come to pass. And I think that's what's gonna happen for this particular episode. So let's stay tuned. So we see they put Brandy, Tranica, and Mike in the same car to drive over there. And Mike is nervous, I guess, because he doesn't want Brandy to see his connection with Kayla, because all Brandy's really been privy to is just Kayla speaking about a connection with Mike, but she's never really seen it in her face. And of course, her response to that is she better not see like anything that really pisses her off, because she knows his other connection is Kayla, and if so, she's gonna be in Samson's room. So what that brings to my attention is that Brandy has always used Samson as an extra backup. Just in case Mike messes up, she can always fall back on Samson. But the connection with Samson is just not up to par with her connection with Mike. But we definitely see her strategy. She's using Samson as a backup plan. Nobody's surprised. What I've also noticed is that Brandy is a little bit obsessed with positioning. She wants people to know her position is number one. She wants to be treated like she's number one. But that's not the nature of that show. The nature of that show is to explore all of your connections and not just one. So I see how it puts Mike in an awkward position because he has to express his interest in Kayla, because that's just the nature of the show, you know what I'm saying? So him deciding, okay, let me cut off Kayla and only focus on Brandy, does not fare well for his chances on the show. And I feel like that's what people get caught up in, or I should say forget, because they feel like, oh, everybody knows it's us, so why not just make it us? No, you can't, because the show punishes you for just making it us. You have to diversify until the show tells you that it's okay to not diversify. So everybody shows up except LG, and it's because he has a work engagement. And for me personally, I agree with LJ in that I would prioritize my job, which is like my bread and butter, is how I live and how I survive, over a temporary show that's not gonna give me enough popularity to live off on if my job fires me. So I see where his priorities are and I agree with them. Furthermore, it's not like he has major connections in the house. I mean, Chanika is his biggest connection, and it's just very unclear where these two lie, to be honest with you. It's clear, however, that I feel like Tranica feels more confident with LJ than she does with Randall. And granted, I understand it because he has multiple connections and she's less stable in her positioning. And he's made it clear that his number one is Jamala. So it's like Tranika is in a tough spot where it's like there's no one to really extend anything with because her connection, number one, LJ is not there. And as far as Randall is concerned, Jamala is sticking to him like peanut butter on bread. So it's a bit hard. I feel like Randall, seeing how clingy Jamala has gotten, has turned him off because it's like men like confident women. Men like knowing that women don't really need them that much. It's like being super clingy turns off a lot of men, and he's seeing that from Jamala and it's turning him off. And what it's gonna do is repel him away from her, and that's not gonna end well for her at all. Furthermore, in regards to Mike, Brandy, Kayla, it's a very straightforward situation, but what's making it complicated is just the nature of the show and the fact that they have to act like they're more interested in other people than they are. So Kadian, because I guess she's bored, she decided to stir up some drama and say, oh, she sees Mike and Brandy as a married couple, but she sees Kayla as like basically a side chick because she's attractive, I guess. And that's exactly how Mike sees her. And I think the quicker she gets to the realization that that is what it is, the quicker she'll move on. Because she keeps hanging on to, oh, Mike just doesn't want to open up, but I know he feels this way about me. And really and truly, I just feel like the feelings he has towards her are purely sexual. So I feel like when she gets to that point that, okay, this is only sexual tension, she will leave it alone because like that's a literal dead end. But Kadian was definitely causing drama by making these comments, and we already see Mike is a type of person, he doesn't really like to open up about how he feels and his true intentions, and that's essentially because his true intentions are not anything really positive in that way, you know. So it's not something he really wants to open up about. So whenever he's put in that hot seat, he really doesn't like it. In front of Brandy, he's finding it really hard to, you know, say his true intentions or feelings toward Kayla. But Kayla is like, if we were to be by ourselves, he would be more honest. And I feel like that is because he doesn't want to mess up what he has with Brandy by being honest about how he feels towards Kayla. So because of that, he's gonna keep it to himself to kind of keep the peace, so to speak. And Brandy's like, oh, you guys are not gonna get that opportunity to talk by yourselves because we're here and it's about communication. But Brandy is coming off like very, very demanding and very authoritative. She almost feels like she owns Mike and nobody is allowed to speak to, talk to, nothing towards Mike. And that's a side of possessiveness that is so unattractive when it comes to women, because it's like, allow the man to show you his intentions. Don't jump the gun and feel, oh, let me just put my tabs on Mike and let all these women know that he's mine, because that's how men end up embarrassing you. Because Mike is a person, for one, you don't even know his true intentions because he doesn't really talk that much. Yes, we know that he feels Brandy, but you know, at the end of the day, overplaying your role is never a good idea. Kayla gets frustrated and is like, I don't have time for Mike and his games. Neither do I have time for Kadian and her questions. So I'm leaving. And she left. I wish Kadian would just focus on her one connection to Swayze, because she's all up in people's business, being fake, causing drama. Like, mind your business. So, as I said before, Jamala is being completely like possessive and controlling, and it's turning Randall off. Like, why are you bringing Kayla's name into things? Why are you telling him, oh, Kayla got the big room? Like, what is your intention? Like, what do you want him to say? How do you want him to respond to that? And obviously, she wants him to respond in a particular way, because the fact that he's not doing that is like making a little bit annoyed, and you could tell, and he's feeling that energy and he's not interested in it. Brandy and Samson spend some alone time together, I guess, to figure out like what is the connection that they have, if they could explore. To me, that's a lost cause, because at this stage in the process, if your connection is not strong, like there's no point in exploring anything, because there's not much time to do a lot of deep diving. Now, Brandy's a little bit hypocritical to me, because in one instance she says she doesn't like the idea of Mike and Kayla having one-on-one conversations, but then she goes ahead and has one-on-one conversations with Samson. So I'm a little bit confused. I feel like a lot of it is because she's threatened by Kayla, and as much as she wants to come across as she's so confident in her and Mike's relationship, she is extremely self-conscious about it. And to have it her way, she would block any and all interactions with Mike and any other woman, especially Kayla. And for her and Samson, I feel like she breaks her own rules, so to speak, because she feels like Samson is not gonna threaten what me and Mike have, so Mike has nothing to worry about. I feel like that's what she is thinking. But on the other hand, she has something to worry about with Mike, because she doesn't really know where his head is as far as Kayla is concerned. I just think it's interesting that Brandy always requires things that she herself is not really willing to provide. Like, you've made it clear that your connection is Mike. Why would Samson go all in, opening up to you and putting you in his number one position? That's not gonna play well for his game. So I feel like a lot of like what she says and what she asks for is a bit much for somebody that's not willing to provide the same things. Now we see Miss Tranica and Randall are about to speak. Maybe Randall's best connection would be Tranica. I feel like they're very similar in regards to, the type of person he is, more reserved, more toned down, more quiet. I feel like she is able to adapt based on who her partner is, and in that regard, in that respect, I could see her going really well with Randall. The energy we got in that conversation seemed to be more along Randall's speed, and it seemed to be one that the pace he liked. And so in that regard, it just flowed really nicely. There was no pressure, there was no jealousy, there was no dominating anything, there was no expectations of anything. It's just, I see you, you see me, we talk when we talk. When we do talk, it's lovely. When we don't talk, it's fine too. And I like that. I think that's what Randall wants. That's why I feel like now he's more confused, because he's not knowing which direction to really go into now. So Cherise, Kayla, Samson, and Randall comes in eventually. They're all talking about their first kiss and stuff like that. And then Jamala comes in, and then it just becomes so awkward and uncomfortable. And Randall is also feeling uncomfortable because Kayla is like touching on him and being a little bit affectionate towards him. And he doesn't know like what to do. Kayla doesn't really care. And that's what I've noticed about Kayla. She doesn't really care how insecure the woman feels. She only cares about her connection with the guy. And I respect the way Kayla dates in that regard. She clearly didn't care about what Jamala had to say or what she thought or anything. And that's the way you kind of have to approach this show, because how can you care about another person's connection with a guy you're interested in? You know what I'm saying? All you can do is connect with him because you know you have a connection with him, and that's that. So Jamala comes in, they ask her what her first kiss was. I don't know if she answered the question, and then it just became, oh, Randall, you want to go inside? It almost appears as if she did that or said that while Jamala was talking. And if so, then that must have been super awkward. They all go to the room. Kayla is cracking up and kind of mocking Randall a little bit. And it's clear that there's like a butting of heads, and Randall knows that. So why he's playing into Kayla's hand, I have no clue. But Jamala is not liking it at all. They're laughing and giggling. Jamala comes in, gets her things, and I agree with Kayla. Like, why was your stuff in the room anyways? Kayla has made that her room, so I'm like so confused. She comes in, she takes her hat, she leaves. Essentially, that was like saying to Randall and to Kayla, I'm onto you guys, I'm watching you guys, which is turning Randall off because he's like, why are you so possessive and being so jealous? Chill. I thought you were more secure in our connection. Clearly she isn't. Jamala is coming across so thirsty in this episode. I'm embarrassed for her right now. So they go jet skiing, Samson and Cherise, Kadian and Swayze. And I think Cherise can't swim, either that or she was just afraid her hair would get wet. But, she was hanging on to Samson like she was gonna die. And Swayze, Gideon was hanging on to him so much so to the point where she grabbed his privates and like had him yelling out. Tranika calls LJ. LJ speaks about how he prioritizes his jobs as opposed to his relationships. And at the end of the day, like, you went on this show for a change. So why are you still doing the things you did before? Aren't you gonna end up having the same result? That's crazy. And furthermore, people are saying that LJ is not this nice guy. So I don't know what the blogs have on him, but apparently I don't know if he's a player or if he's a manipulator, I'm not quite sure. But people are saying that he's not as nice as they portrayed him to be on this particular show. So clearly, Tranika is more into LJ than she is Randall. And the fact that he's not there kind of puts her at a disadvantage and makes her truly vulnerable. So it's a great thing that the women are actually in charge, because I feel if the women weren't in charge, Tranika would probably be the one being sent home, I think. Now, back to the group. Cherise and Samson. Watching them together just makes me cringe. I don't know why. I feel like something is missing. And it could be on both sides. I feel like both of them aren't opening up as much. But I feel like Samson, I don't know if he's afraid of opening up to Cherise. I don't know. Or maybe he's just not as connected as he says he is to Cherise. I don't know. There's just something missing there. Absolutely something missing there. And every time I see them interact, it comes across as very forced to me. We saw how for a while they were like dead silence. Nobody was talking. It was super awkward. And then when he does open his mouth to speak, he says nothing of substance. Like, it's all jokes. I mean, at the end of the day, what that says to me is either he's scared or he's not that into Cherise. Jamal and Randall speak again, butt heads again. The problem is she feels like she has to fight to be with him. She has to, watch through him flirting with other women. She doesn't like it. And he feels like we have our connection. I mean, it's a strong connection, I thought. But you're acting as if any woman is going to take me away from you. You should be confident in our connection and not worry about what other women do. And I feel like that is really pissing her off. She's like, don't push me. You're pushing me to a capacity that I'm not comfortable with. And I understand. But still, you have to play it cool. That is not your man. You guys are still in the dating process. So you can't want all of that from him so early on. He's still trying to make his decision. Clearly, your only connection is Randall. So I understand why you want him to make his hurry up and make his choice, but still you need to respect the fact that he's still in this process with two other women that he's not sure about. Allow this man to determine where he wants to be and fall back. Jamala is doing way too much way too soon. Fall back. Let him show you what he wants and where he wants to be. Stop forcing him or trying to force him to do what you want him to do. It's only going to push him away. Putting your hat strategically in the girl's room was childish as hell. You know what I'm saying? Do better. So everyone is having their dinner and discussing, their past hardships and past issues and what makes them ready to love in this present day. And Shanika, of course, stated that, she came to a point where she's wanted it so bad from 25 to 35. And the last month she cried every day, and it's like, I feel like she feels like she's done the internal work and is just ready for that godly type of love that she wants. But it's just quite interesting that she wants godly love, but she's actually very sexual. Like, even when she laughs with people, she jokes with people, there's always these sexual undertones. So my thing is, if you want godly love, why are you always leading with sex? Anyways, Randall is moved to tears, and then he starts to share his story. So essentially, Randall is like, he's accomplished all his goals, and at this point he is missing love to share that with, and that's why he's here, and that's deep. But a part of me is like, is he really ready? I'm not quite sure, because he has issues with communication and opening up himself. Brandy wants love. She's never been in love. So that's something that she's ready for, she said. Swayze says love scares him. He said the longer he waits, the harder it's gonna be to find love. Why is that? Is it because as you age, you get less attractive, and so less people are gonna want to be interested in you? I guess. And now Mike is gonna be talking. Mike married his childhood love, but they ended up in divorce. So yeah, in a certain sense, he is what they're all looking for. But the point that he made that baffled me was, he said, what you guys want, I have, not what you guys want, I had. So is he still in love with his ex-wife? I'm not too sure. Maybe he meant he has love in him. He knows what it is. He knows what it feels like. And so if they want it, he's the one to share that with them. I guess that's what he's saying. But still. So Randall and the plug have a conversation about his experience so far. And he spoke about how it's been rocky and it's been uncomfortable because Jamala is just being overly this and overly that, and he's like, the plug is like, well, that's where reassurance comes in, that's where communication comes in. You have to let her know that you're here with her and kind of validate her in a certain regard, which I agree with. But how much validation can you give one person when you're not even sure if you want that person? Did Charisse and Samson sleep together? And did Mike and Brandy sleep together? That's crazy. You notice every time one of the women in the lounge speak about, like, one of the guys Kayla has a connection with, like Randall or Mike, they pan into her facial expression. And I feel like they do that because they've already pegged her to be the mean girl. Not the mean girl per se, but the very attitude, the girl with the attitude, and the girl with the, I don't know, the strong personality. So every time they do that and they like zoom into her facial expression, which kind of irritates me because it's like you're not even allowed to express yourself. If you frown, they're gonna take it in one way. If you smile, they take it in one way. It's like it's really impossible to really like just not really have a emotion to anything. Anyways, so yeah, I guess Samson is too much of a lover boy, and I guess he's not being as authentic as some of the women feel. And I guess Swayze just doesn't put any effort in anybody else besides Kadian, and that's why they're essentially on the chopping block. LJ would have been if he came, but he didn't, so I think they substituted and they just used Swayze instead. Sorry, and they used Samson instead because I feel like Swayze has more negatives than Samson does. So as Brandy is like gonna say who they decided to eliminate, Mr. Tommy comes in and interrupts and says he's gonna make the final decision and leaves us on a cliffhanger. So we have no idea who's gonna be chosen in the end. I feel as if because I didn't see Swayze in the previews, I think probably Swayze is gonna be sent home, but I'm not quite sure. I know if Swayze is sent home, Kadian is gonna follow because there's like literally no other connection for her there. So that's done. That would be done. We see that Samson is still not opening up to Charisse, and she sees it as a red flag. We see that Mike is weak and he only wants to, I guess, communicate with Kayla when Brandy is not in the picture. It almost looks as if, even though him and Brandy are not in anything serious, he treats Kayla like she's that side chick. He treats her like a side chick, even when he's not in a relationship, which is crazy to me and speaks to the nature of how he will treat her moving forward, which is why she needs to just ignore him for the rest of this trip, to be honest, and focus on Randall. Anyways, you guys, let me know what you guys think about this episode. Was it fun? Did you like it? Did you see any more connections forming? Let me know in the comment section. What did you think about Jamala? Did you think that she was doing way too much? Let me know in the comment section. See you guys next time. Like and subscribe. Bye bye.